Can you be an occupational therapist and a board-certified behavior analyst? The answer is yes. And today on the show, I had a great conversation with Dr. Shelly Margow, who is a behavior analyst and also an occupational therapist, and Leah Gross, who is a occupational therapist, and she is becoming a board-certified behavior analyst. Leah is the founder of Circle Care Services, and she really makes sure to provide quality therapy and loop in the parents. I love her mission statement, which is to help every child reach their full potential while giving parents a trusted partner in the process. And Shelley is the owner of Academy ABA, where she contributes to advancing care by aligning education and therapy. We talk today, and what you'll learn in the show is how can occupational therapists and BCBAs collaborate. We talk about very specific ways that we can collaborate when we're providing therapy. What's interesting is both women are business owners. So we talk about what does it look like to be a treating clinician and collaborate, but what does it look like from a business standpoint? And we get into the logistics of funding and insurance and all of those intricate details. It's a very interesting episode. As a speech-language pathologist in BCBA, I have collaborated often with occupational therapists, whether I was working in a non-public program or a school. I was definitely trying to do groups together. I remember when I worked in a middle school, high school, we did a wonderful vocational group every single week. That was super, super fun. Shout out Ellen, my former coworker. I miss coworkers, okay? Working from home every day. But this is a wonderful time to dialogue and learn more about occupational therapy, learn about how we can build that bridge. So both of these people are doing really, really interesting work. If you haven't joined us in the ABA Speech Connection, we have great conversation and dialogue there as well. It is our CEU membership for speech therapists, BCBAs, and RBTs. We talk about collaboration a lot, and you can earn CEUs. If you haven't joined us, make sure that you check out the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's get into this episode with Shelley and Leah. I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech Podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Welcome to the show. We have with us Leah Gross and Dr. Shelly Margow. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. We feel like this is an episode a long time coming. I've connected with both of you in different ways, and I was like, I want to do a show about occupational therapists and BCBAs. There are not a lot of people who are duly certified as SLPs and BCBAs, but I know you guys are both on some type of journey to maybe becoming duly certified, and that's even smaller group. I'm not even sure what the numbers are on that if you have it, but I thought it would be really cool to do a podcast on that. So thank you so much for coming on to the show. So you're both occupational therapists, and I just want to know, how did you know that you also wanted to become a BCBA? And you guys are both in process, right, of becoming BCBAs on some type of journey?
I actually got my BCBA behind me.
Oh, congratulations. Okay. Because we had connected a long time ago. Okay. Wonderful. I love that. So how did you both know that that was something that you wanted to work towards?
Leah, go.
Thank you. So I'm an occupational therapist. I have a private practice, the therapy place in New Jersey, where I treat, it's now 16 years, children, all different types of children with sensory regulation, fine motor, gross motor, self-care difficulties. And through the years, I've been getting a bigger and bigger population of children on the autism spectrum. And what we were seeing was like sort of sporadic, carryover between the therapies. And so many parents asked me if I could start an ABA branch of my business. So during COVID, I had the extra time because I did not love telehealth. We did a little bit of telehealth, but I didn't feel like it suited everybody, especially our real sensory children who need all that like hands-on engagement and treatment. And definitely I was able to give some carryover to the parents, but behind my screen, I wasn't able to put them on the swing and brush and lotion them and do all the stuff that was necessary. So at that time, I went ahead and I opened up a ABA branch called Circle Care Services, which today is its own entity that collaborates with the therapy place. But my big thing that I really incorporated into this ABA company, which I would say makes it different than others, is that we created an umbrella where we really look at the whole interdisciplinary team. We look at like social work, we look at OT, we look at speech, and we look at ABA, and we incorporate that all together. I actually, I'll send you a picture, but now I have a gorgeous sensory gym in my ABA clinic that the children go to every single day. And I really felt like it was important to incorporate the different therapies together, because a child is not an island. We need the whole team in order to treat them. And I do think that all the hats in therapy, all the hats in the medical world are so important. And when we say this one takes precedence over this one, we sort of like lose the battle. So really just validating and understanding that each discipline comes to the table with its own bag of knowledge, bag of skills, and really has that much to contribute. And that all of us practitioners, whichever hat we're wearing, recognize that each practitioner has something really important to contribute. So to work as a team with the parents, the children, and all the different therapists on the team is really what my vision was. And we are really doing that now. We have over 500 children in our program. Since 2020, we opened, and we're in 2025. And I definitely think that there was that need because it grew so fast, because parents are really looking for that. They're looking for coordination of care. They want to see their children making the best gains. And the way to make the best gains is when we take the knowledge from all the different fields and we collaborate together. So how come I went on my BCBA journey was because I felt like if I was running an ABA company and validating all the different therapies and, at this time, ABA gets the most hours from insurance. We're an insurance-based company, and they're willing to give somewhere between 10 and 40 hours to children. And as an OT, I'm getting about a half hour twice a week to engage with these children, and it's just not enough. So in my program, my heart is still an occupational therapist with BCBA information included. And I definitely think that BCBAs have I've learned so much in this journey, and I'm so happy I went on the journey, and all of the misconceptions of what BCBAs are and their bedside manner and their rigidity. I would like to counter it and say that I am super impressed with my program. They did speak about soft skills. They did speak about client-centered care. And I think the new world of ABA is definitely moving with the trend of what parents want and what parents need and what children needs are. And I think that is also a really important topic that older BCBAs that went to school a long time ago, it's really important for them to stay current with the knowledge and the information that is coming out today, because what they're putting out today is beautiful and it is really relevant.
Yeah, and I think that's what the science always has been. I got asked to do a talk last year. It's an invite-only conference called NAC. It's in Pennsylvania. It's in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I thought that was so like such an honor to be invited. But one of the topics, and they actually tell you what you're going to present on, which kind of scares me. But one of the topics was assent. And so I had Dr. Cody Morris on, who's a BCBAD, to talk about assent because he's written a lot of research on it. And so when I was going through and like, I had him on the podcast, he's done a speech for us in the ABA Speech Connection, our membership. But it was interesting because really, all the literature is like, we've always been really assent focused, and there's been a lot of talk about naturalistic interventions the whole time. I think that sometimes people will get, they'll be antiquated in their ways of doing things and they're not keeping up with best practice. But I guess that's why it's good that we have that CEU requirement to talk about, what is best practice and what is evidence. So, thank you so much for sharing that. Shelley, can you share with us about different areas that BCBAs and OTs can collaborate on for students? Because, I've had my own lived experience working in settings where there's ABA, speech, OT, and I've worked as both a speech therapist and BCBA. And so I've definitely run some co-treating sessions when I was in the school more because the funding source was not insurance, with the double billing and things. But I've loved to collaborate with OTs. But what are ways that BCBAs and OTs can collaborate for students, do you feel?
So I think that's a great question, Rose. And I think it's a question that we continually asking ourselves too, because we are so limited by the funding sources. There's this whole big thing about co-treatment and cross-discipline treatment. And so the ideal world would be true collaboration into professional development. And I was, in my journey into professional certification, was one of the things that I had worked on because I had a similar story to Leah.
I'd love to hear your story, Shelley. So give it to us in like a little snippet so that we could hear, because I took the stage, but I want to hear how you did it as well.
All right. Well, I'll do that, and then I'll kind of come back to the question. So yes, I've been a diehard OT for the last 32 years. Had my own private practice in Georgia, OT-PT speech, was into collaboration. 2014 recognized. I worked with a couple of BCBAs in Georgia who were fabulous. The rest, there was some question about the whole DTT thing. Same thing, brought ABA into my clinic with the sole purpose of kumbaya. Everyone's going to work so nicely together and we're going to have such a wonderful collaborative practice. It didn't work so well. We've got very different, I feel like different parameters in Georgia. And that was a big learning curve for me. So my biggest thing, I was the SIOT. I'm SIP certified. I'm neuroplasticity. I had the big, beautiful 12,000 square foot gym. I had the nonprofit school that was all SI based, sensory integration based. And so sensory integration is here and ABA is here, which that's a whole nother discussion for another day, because going through the journey, you realize that really we're just speaking different languages, but we're doing the same thing.
Right.
And so that's why I went back to school to do my BCBA, is I had to learn the language because I had to get down from my soapbox very quietly, because I was that OT who said, no, you can't do SI and ABA. Yes, we want to collaborate, but it's, I'm hitting too much resistance and ABA does this, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So coming back to that's where I recognize we'll never be able to collaborate until we speak the same language. And so and you're going through the course now too, I also had a great program. As you go through the program and you start to see the parallels with the students, right, and you start to go, oh, so this means this. And if I take the ABC formula, the antecedent, behavior, consequence, which we do as OTs all the time because we're looking at function, that's where your collaboration truly comes in with the students. So I feel like OTs are so skilled in environmental adaptations, in functional adaptations, that if the OT had the floor for that in the sensory processing or automatic function, and the BCBA RBTs could understand that language and implement simple strategies. I'm not saying that we teach RBTs how to do SI. And again, I would love that to be a conversation at some point, because that's what I'm doing now, is how we integrate SI into ABA treatment. But I think the strongest areas for collaboration are, how do we interweave what we're trained in as OTs in sensory processing, gross and fine motor coordination, bilateral coordination, and help RBTs and BCBAs understand how that fits in to the antecedents, the MOs, the SDs, the consequences, because I think that's where things start to fall apart in collaboration. And that's where people get really frustrated.
Yeah. And I think it's the jargon. Like what you're coming up with is really each field and discipline has jargon that we use. And so I've been doing a poll on LinkedIn every Friday. Oh, did you? Okay. And so it's a nice way for me to post on there. But, and it's just, I'm using a jargon type term and seeing if people know the correct answer. And then I put, and I get like 100 people or so that answer that. It's kind of a quick hit on a Friday. But it's just, you're right. There's such a disconnect between what we're saying. And you said, like, is for you, like you're seeing the parallels. You're like, oh, and I always talk to people because people reach out to me every week on either Instagram or through Messenger, and they have questions about, well, this BCBA did this, or this speech therapist did this. Yeah. And I try to help them in, you know, a holistic way to give them a general answer. But I know what a BCBA would want to hear and what they would value, just like you're talking about the 3-term contingency. Well, a lot of us don't know what that really means, but right, it's this whole basis of what we talk about, right, for behavioral interventions and therapy interventions. And so it's really kind of like massaging the message. You might say it to an OT in one certain way because you know what they value, and you might say it to a BCBA in a different way because you know what they value. And it's really the same of helping a learner, but the way that you say it is differently. So that jargon piece is a big piece, don't you think, Shelley?
Absolutely. And I think the other piece too is as OTs, and I think hopefully I can speak for speech therapists as well, because we had OT, PT, and speech. We're not taught to manage behavior. So the one thing that I want to add in there is what ABA brings to us is such a beautiful formula for managing behavior. Mm-hmm. And I think the struggle becomes when we get stuck, and this is what I saw with my staff, is the struggle of truly wanting to collaborate, because I don't believe anyone goes into any of these fields. Firstly, we don't do it for money. Right. We want to help families. So this dissension of this and this lack of communication, that becomes a true barrier to entry for these kids. And it's a huge insurance issue as well. My husband and I, he's the CEO of the company. I'm actually on another project right now. We've got 5 locations, and the tragedy, Leah, and you'll appreciate this, is I had to take all my gyms out of my locations because we had a training issue with our RBTs, and we had an accident that could have been really bad. Thank heavens it wasn't. But that's where, when you come to collaboration, there's so many components from a business owner standpoint and then a therapy standpoint. So as therapists, we just make the assumption that everybody knows when you get on a swing, you've got to be really careful. Well, no, they don't. And you can't just sit and spin kids. That's not sensory integration.
Shelley, I'm very sad to hear that you pulled the jazz out. No, I am so sad about that. That is not acceptable, because that is really, like, you're so articulate in all the things that you just said. And I really think that OT has so much to offer to the picture, and that's the model I'm going with now, where we're seeing the children twice a week for OT, and then the RBTs are taking them to the gym and are incorporating all that sensory integration.
Exactly.
And we need that. And on the other end, I love how the ABA field, measurable, observable, data-driven, and that as OTs we are missing. And I'm hoping to be able to bring that to the field of OT. And like you were just saying, we need data backing up all of our sensory integration, because as practitioners in the field for however many years in the field, we see it work, but we do not have the data yet. And that is really what's important.
The struggle is that's why we've got 2 30-minute sessions a week. It's because we can't substantiate what we're doing. And this is a very big statement, and I hope it's not true, but it's my perception. I feel like the field of sensory integration is dying slowly. It's going to the psychologists because we're not getting reimbursed, even though we've got the codes now. My husband was at a big conference last week with the big CEOs of Cigna Healthcare and Magellan and some of the bigger players. And the struggle that they're having is measurable gains. So this is interesting sorry, we're going off script here, but I do.
No, that's okay. It's interesting.
Is what the insurance companies are struggling with is the lack of clarity in the daily notes. So even though we're getting the 10 to 40 hours a week for our kids, the reimbursement rates are still, like in Georgia, we've got some of the lowest reimbursement rates, but they can't raise the rates because they can't substantiate the gains. So we've actually got data from when we did have collaboration, and part of that collaboration is I had the wrong team of BCBAs. Right. We just had an older group of people who were very, very stuck in their ways because I didn't know what I was doing at that.
Right. You needed a certified person.
School, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that those interactions impacted the number of hours we had, the parent engagement, RBT turnover. As you know, RBT turnover is at about 65%, the attrition, which is horrible.
Yeah.
So by giving RBTs the tools, because they don't have them right now, I think that's where OT could play such a beautiful role. And I really, really want to put in a proposal for what's coming up in March. They're asking for proposals for GAB.
Not APBA, but they've already opened those.
It's one of the, and I really want to do an OT ABA talk, but I'm going to be overseas in South Africa, and I'm not going to be back in time. Next year, next year's there's so much to do in this field. Which, again, one of the questions, Rose, you had asked is how many OTs are there? I have counted 10. There are 10. Wow. I can't find. Would you believe there are no statistics on how many OTs are out there? And so when I posted in my group,
OTs that are also BCBAs, you're saying?
BCBAs, dual certified. When I posted, I actually met with the dean of Sargent College at Boston University, which is where I got my doctorate. And they called me and said, hey, what do you think? I said, I think you need to put an ABA program in, or you need to teach OTs what ABA is. Because when I was posting in a Facebook group, backlash.
You posted it in a Facebook group? Come on, Shelley. Come on.
I was like,
an OT Facebook group?
And an OT. I sat there reading the comments going, but guys, this is why we need to have this conversations. I was really taken aback at how anti-OTs are against ABA in pediatrics.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
And Shelley, you could add to what I'm going to say now, because I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. But I do think there's misconceptions. I really do. I think that there's a place for both of us, and that if only we would collaborate and if only we would understand each other, both fields could be improved by leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds. I think, speech, I think it's a little bit easier to slide in once you understand. Okay. And
I don't post that kind of stuff on Facebook groups. That's just, I learned that years ago, but I have an online business, so I'm dead inside on that. But there's a lot of people that are very biased against ABA. It's tough. And I think what I try to do, and I know you both will do, is try to disseminate and share what ABA can be and what good, solid ABA is, right? Because Shelley, from having your company and having those experiences, from an employee and employer standpoint, it's like, okay, this is what is good. This is what is challenging, so that we all know, because I think people have an idea of what it is. And just like you said, Leah, it's misinformation. But there are going to be practitioners out there from all of our fields that are not the best, and they're not doing what is best for kids. And so I think for us to know what is a green flag as a provider, what is a red flag is good, because then we can advocate for our students, which is like what we said is like the main point of why we do what we do.
Right. And as practitioners that are successful in the field and have gotten certificates and have helped children, I still think it's so important for us to put our egos away and to
Totally.
be able to hear somebody else and be able to accept that there is what to learn from every individual. Because I think sometimes we put on that hat, whether it's the BCBA hat, whether it's the OT hat, whether it's the speech hat, and we did work hard to become those people and to be able to help children. And we have to have passion in what we do, and therefore we do. But we can't let that passion take us away. We have to still be open to hearing and to listening and to learning from the next person.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But that is hard because I had great staff. But these were really, really good people who, as you said, were really just stuck in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
And to try and shift that was, it was something because actually COVID hit the same time, and I shut my entire OTPT speech practice down. It was a big business, and I shut it down because we recognized, again, in Georgia, we were struggling with scheduling. We couldn't do cross-discipline treat. I am not a fan of co-treatments. I'm a fan of cross-discipline treatments because I found that one therapist would be sitting on their phone. A true cross-discipline treatment is you're working on speech and oral motor. I'm working on stability and bilateral coordination so that we can get the tongue out and we can get, my partner was an oral motor myofunction therapist. So, but yeah, I think this leads to the question, what advice do we give for OTs and BCBAs who are looking to collaborate? Listen, sit and listen. Don't take your beliefs. And I always feel like therapists are limited by their own humanness. That's kind of because you stick with what you know and what you're comfortable with. Yeah. And we can't grow if we don't step outside of that, those boundaries we've created for ourselves. There's always a way to do it. There's always a way around it. We will come back to, I'm actually working on a piece of software right now. That's my new project. But it's all about collaboration. So I think it's possible. And I think it's necessary because in the ABA world, just by the way, Leah, and I learned this last week, we, from a funding perspective, ABA is going to, I've just got a blank on what's called care-based, not care-based. Where you get paid on your result. There's a term for it. They're doing it in rehab right now.
Sort of outcome-based?
Outcome-based funding. So that's what that's what the insurance companies are moving to in ABA. So things are going to be tightened up a lot. And that's why we need even more collaboration.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the funding is just, as a business owner as well, like I think they have certain dollars that they throw at let's say an autism diagnosis, and they figure, and I remember from when I was an OT as well, and I was doing the billing there, they're going to try and deny and not give the services because funding is an issue. But I think as practitioners, our job is to treat those that we can treat, that the insurances allow us to treat. And just back to your point of really just keeping our minds open and remembering that we're there to learn, and we're really here to learn. And when I went back, I'm always going to courses. I'm trained in everything you could ever imagine. I'm an RI, floor time. I love learning and growing. And I always think that I'm a learning and growing person. And then when I went back for my BCBA now, and I have to learn Blackboard, and I have to learn all these different technologies, you think it's funny. No, my challenge of going back to school was not the material that I was learning. It was all the different new technologies and staying current and being the oldest person in the class, right? All of that. I know that, and I'm older than you. I know. Thank you for making me feel good. But at the same time, I think when we say that we're open to learning, we have to really expand our brain on what open to learning is. And if we're one of those that say that we're open to learning, push yourself even further and learn more. Because when we're hearing from other people, when we're collaborating in the field, we have to really just open those pathways of learning even greater. Because however much you think you're collaborating, you could collaborate even better. And I really do think so. That's really my message today. I really think that when we're learning and we're learning from each other and we're learning from the interdisciplinary team, I think that our pathways of learning, we could always do better.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I love that. Well, this is a great conversation. I mean, I feel like I learned a lot about just the talking to OTs, BCBAs, what to look for, and just being open to that dialogue. I think that is what is a big take-home message. So where can people find out more about each of you if they want to look more about your work, your website or Instagram handle?
Go ahead, Shelley.
So I'm actually working on drshellymargow.com. right now. It is not up and running. I am on Instagram, and if you Google me, there's some interesting things out there. I do have a book called Sensory Integration Simplified. It's a great little book for parents, easy read, and I'm working on book number 2. So I'll let you know when that comes out, hopefully in December, which is going to talk about combining OT and ABA. But yeah,
Cool. That's awesome. What about you, Leah? Leah? Sorry.
Leah. So you could find us at circlecareservices.com. That's our website. And then I also have Instagram, Facebook, all put in the tagline circlecareservices.com. And we're in multiple states. We're in New Jersey. We're in Georgia as well. Yes.
You have to house it.
Yes. I come down a couple times a year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there. North Carolina, Utah. So we're around the map. Maryland is our latest one. And I also have a podcast. That's how me and Rose got to know each other. She came onto my podcast. So I have a podcast that is really focused on parents, caregivers understanding the autism world and getting information. So that's autismroundtable.com. You could get that. Autism Roundtable. You could get that on like Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And then I also have My BCBA Life, which is for BCBAs, podcasts that they could get CEUs. So that's also a really cool thing. And we're just really out there for the community of autism. Shelley, I hear how you're also working on the funding sources and trying to really expand the world of autism for the children, for the caregivers, and really like push the growth of this field so that everyone can get access to amazing services.
I love that. Well, thank you for all that you do for the field, and it was great to connect.
Wonderful. Thanks, Rose, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Rose. So nice to meet you, Shelley.
Nice to meet you too, Leah.